To How Do You Spirit, and we have a very special guest today that has a very important story. We're going to be talking about mental health today. First of all, before we get started, though, I want to mention that please go check out our YouTube channel at How Do You Spirit, and also the Instagram, the Facebook, How Do You Spirit. You know, we might not have TikTok soon, so
yeah, that's true. Huh? I forgot about that.
Yeah. So be sure you're following us on our other platforms as well. Today, Tad is with us, and he has a pretty incredible, heartfelt story, I think, and such a journey. And he was so gracious to come today and share his story with us. And this is going to be a good one, everyone. So pay attention. Welcome, Tad. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm good.
Good.
I'm excited to do this.
Awesome. We're excited to have you. So tell us, we were just talking a little bit ago. Tell us how you're going to start your story.
All right. So this was in 98, the end of 98, the beginning of 99. And I had just went through my second divorce, and things weren't going, obviously second divorce, not real well. I had my children, I had a great job, I was making lots of money, but I just was missing something. I didn't really know how to fill that.
So you feel like you were good financially. You said you had a new truck, you had all the things, right?
Right. I
Kids.
had all the things. I had making lots of money. And I was single. I had a great place to live, a nice condo. And so all of the things on the outside, I looked like I was doing pretty well. Right?
That's what I wanted you to say, because
Well, I say it all the time. Money, when it really cannot buy your happiness.
No,
you
money
can have
does
everything that, according to everybody else, says that you're rich and you're doing great, and you're not.
No.
You're not at all.
Yeah. Okay, so carry on.
All right. So, and the important thing too is that I had my kids almost every weekend. We got divorced, right? So, but to be able to have them is, a great thing to do. But
That's got to be quite the transition of having them all the time to going into that,
Part time, right, or less.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this was my second divorce, so it went from all the time to not quite all the time, and then now even less time. But we still managed to get out and play lots of baseball and just play catch and fishing and all that kind of stuff. But again, something was just missing. I didn't really realize what it was. And I got to where I was working all the time, and that was what I did. I didn't do anything else for me. I was working as many hours as I could. I was drinking a little bit more than usual. I didn't want to go anywhere. I spent a lot of time watching television, so I didn't want to see anyone.
So were you kind of isolating yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I didn't realize that was a bad thing. But it was just something that I did because I was embarrassed about, oh my hell, it's my second divorce, and so I didn't want to talk about that ever, So it was a lot easier to do everything else, and not talk about me. Well, so I had a very bad weekend. I was involved in a self-help group, which is kind of funny. But it went from, say, 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and then I had to drive almost an hour home. So I had an hour drive there, hour drive back, all those hours in time. And
the self-help group that you were in, did you feel like it was something you were engaging in, or were you just kind of there?
Oh no, I was in. I was 100%. It was talking about bringing up stuff in the past and how can you work through that. I have some issues with my father, and so we talked about that a lot and bringing that up. And I was writing letters to him and that sucks, and all those types of things, right?
They were making you feel some things.
Yeah, and who wants that?
Which is why you start drinking more to not feel the things, and then you were just working more
Right.
to not even feel more things.
Right.
Yeah,
To deal
I
with
mean,
it all.
it is a web that I think we get caught up in,
Yes.
and don't even realize it until you're all the way stuck in that web.
Yep.
Right, and I wasn't drinking that at that time a whole lot. I mean, more than I was before. I got good and drunk on Thursday, and not anything until then.
Had you been diagnosed with any, mental health problems by that time, or
I did have someone tell me that you're depressed and you should probably get on Prozac. And I said,
so
no.
they said that you were depressed and they threw you on Prozac?
No, they said I should get
Oh,
on
you
Prozac.
should get on Prozac.
Okay.
But
Okay,
it
sorry.
felt like more of a cure-all. It wasn't, 'cause
Well, back then it was.
exactly.
All right.
That's why the whole joke was you got
Right.
a wife, threw her on Prozac.
Right. And I wasn't sad, but what I was doing is I was having a lot of, and I didn't know what they were, but kind of like a panic attack at work. And when things got real stressed out, I would kind of almost shut out, or whatever you want to call that, block everything out. And to the point where I was having, everyone was talking about me and I was worried that I was going to get fired, I was going to get all that kind of stuff. And I thought I was losing my damn mind. Because
So do you feel like you were kind of making stories up in your head too, or was this really
No,
going
no,
on?
this
So
is-
people were really,
Oh, no, I was making it up.
Oh, okay.
As far as, I thought you meant.
Feeling like
I thought
everybody
you
was
meant-
kind of like talking behind
yeah,
your back.
right.
Yeah.
And there might have been some of that going on, and I magnified it.
Yeah.
Because we all have to work.
Oh,
go to
and you
work.
felt like you were a failure because now you're getting divorced again, and
Well, this is right before the divorce.
Okay.
Right at that. I did feel like her and I didn't have the relationship that either one of us wanted. And so
Right.
I've got that going on.
Right.
But as far as that goes, that was really
so it
it.
kind of goes back to the not feeling like you were big enough, tall enough, fast enough, going. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Rich enough, not short enough, tall enough.
hmm
Yeah.
Just not quite right.
Not quite right. Yeah.
So I ought to be a song about that.
I think there are a million.
probably-
It's called country western.
Right. There's a whole genre about it. So that's how it all really started, with being diagnosed and
Yeah.
those types of things. But again, well, you must be depressed. Well, I'm not sad, not knowing what depression really was then.
Right.
And now it doesn't mean that you're sad. It can mean isolation. It can mean
Right.
a lot of different things.
Yes.
And so, where was that? So, then at self-help group, I ended up, in my second divorce, and I don't know why or anything else. I know that I called my mom on the way home. My mom and I are really tight. She's my go-to in a lot of different circumstances, and I feel like I am for her as well. And so I got home on the way home, and hey, things are good. I'm, got a lot of great things to talk to you about. I'm excited to tell you about it because it was something that I was working through. And I went home, and I woke up right around 3 o'clock that morning, and all I could hear, and it wasn't an audible voice. It's not like, you guys could have heard it, right? It was just
Right. It's
my
in your
head.
mind.
Right, in my head.
Yep.
I heard, you have to die. You'll
Wow.
never get what you want. You'll never be who you want.
Oof.
You will always be a failure.
Well, and that goes back to, again, for every one time that we think that, feel that, hear that about ourselves,
Exactly.
our brain tells you that 1,300 times. And pretty soon that gets to controlling you. That becomes who you are, when in reality, you're just this beautiful ball of light for so many, but you don't see that
But
because
absolutely,
you're so in
that's it.
your own bullshit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to hear. And then I thought, all right, well, I've got a rifle or a shotgun. And if I use my rifle, I could hurt someone else, right? So I chose the shotgun. And I had a shotgun in one closet, the shells in another. I loaded it, and put it on my chin, pulled the trigger, click. I didn't chamber it. So then I chambered it, and I put it on my chin, click. And I fell.
Wow.
I fell down, and I was lying there. I'm still alive, or I'm not dead. One of those two things I thought of, right?
Yeah.
So I got
Isn't that
up.
amazing how like you can do
You
that
still-
and you were just so determined that this is just how it was and what needed to happen.
Period. That was when it happened.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't care how. Well, I guess I did care how because I grabbed a shotgun, but it was going to happen regardless.
Well, and how clear you were in the thought of, if I use a rifle, it could hurt someone else. You
Yeah.
know, that's a
That's odd.
well, it's amazing, and
It is
I think
amazing,
a lot of
yeah.
people actually have that experience where it's just so clear, and you're only trying to hurt you. A lot of like addiction and stuff. You know, you don't think about the people you're hurting outside of you. You're thinking about, this is hurting me. Them doing it to me. It's only going to hurt me. And we don't realize what it does. The ripple
How it
effect.
affects
Oh yeah,
everybody
at all,
else.
At all. We're,
Yeah.
I've heard people say that's a really selfish thing to do, and blah and blah and blah. You can look at it that way, I guess. For me, it's like addiction. It had nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It had to do with what I was.
Yeah, it
going
wasn't
through.
personal. It was what you could do to you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the the ramifications of that, my children were horrible. I had to deal with that. So I'm lying there and I'm still alive. So I got up, grabbed another shell, and put it on my chin. Now this is an old school Remington 870 Wing Master. It's got like a 28-inch barrel, so it's long. And I put it on my chin and pulled the trigger again, and that one felt like I hit my bus and it slammed
Wow.
me down on the. All right, I'm dead now. So at one point, I must have passed out, and then I heard my grandpa yell.
And your grandpa was passed on.
Yeah, he'd been dead for 3 or 4 years.
Oh
at
my
that
gosh,
time.
I just got the chills.
And he said, get the hell up and dial 911.
Isn't that crazy?
What
You've got
the?
2 kids to raise. Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's exactly how he would have said it. And he might have been the only one I would ever listen to. He was really, at that time, the only man I've ever respected,
Uh-huh.
And so
So
I did.
he came through to you.
Right. And so
Wow.
I crawled over to the counter where I had the phone,
Uh-huh.
and I pulled it down and was able to, know
You were still able.
to dial 911.
Wow.
And, I think I might even held it up, But I couldn't talk because all of my face is gone, right?
Yeah.
But I was able to make enough noise that they thought that they probably got to send someone over.
Okay.
So then I crawled over towards the door, and now I'm maybe 4 feet away from the door.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if I passed out at that time or what, but I remember the door opening, and this is in February of '99, so it was cold, right?
Yeah.
And I felt the rush of cold air, and then I heard the cop yell "gun," and then he stepped over me, and this is weird. I don't remember if I actually heard it,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. But this is what I remember. I heard it. I often wonder, did I hear it, or was I like out?
I was going to say, were you
Looking
out of
for-
body?
Yeah.
Like watching maybe?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
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 But it was weird that I would remember that
Uh-huh.
and actually hear that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So he clears the room, or the condo, and then the paramedics jump in, and there's one on my stomach, there's one on my legs, and one on each arm.
Uh-huh.
And they had to turn me over on my back so they could work on me. But when they turned me over, I'm like flying back
You're-
over, right? And now I can't breathe.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm fighting to breathe, and then I, wrestled free, got free of them. I grabbed the guy on my waist and pulled myself up and yelled,
Wow.
"I want to live." And I couldn't say it like that,
Uh-huh.
but phonically I was able to say, "I want to live."
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, they really started to, okay, let's do something.
Get
to save,
busy.
let's do something to save this guy.
Yeah.
And I know that part because my cousin's husband is a cop, and he was able to go and talk to the guys
Okay.
afterwards and said that they didn't know what they were going to do because he was a guy with half a head,
Yeah.
and he's got not brain, he's got everything all over the ceiling and blood everywhere and
Right.
all of that type of stuff. What can they do for this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And but once I said that, then they really started to work.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, one of the paramedics actually quit after this call. So I remember getting loaded. I don't know if I remember getting loaded out of the apartment or a condo into the ambulance, but
Uh-huh.
I remember going from the ambulance to Lifeline.
Okay.
And so they Lifeline me to U of U,
Mm-hmm.
and I woke, and I woke up, 2.5 or 3 months later.
2.5 to 3 months, you
Yeah.
said?
Yeah.
So did they put you like in an induced coma?
Right. I'm sure there was part of that,
Yeah.
but then also I saw a picture, and my head was like big as a damn basketball,
Wow.
just swollen up,
Uh-huh.
So there was a lot of that going on physically,
Mm-hmm.
plus they probably wanted this guy to not feel a whole lot of pain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what their thought was,
Right.
but that's when I woke up.
Wow.
And
At that moment that you woke up, do you recall like what you had done? Did you know, like, did you wake up like, where am I? What am I? Why am I here? Or did you know,
No.
like, I'm here. I know what I did.
I knew they did. I was
Okay.
there. Yeah,
Okay.
I was lucid.
Okay.
And a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist,
Mm-hmm.
whatever she was, came to talk to me. And I don't know why. Well, I could be a jerk at times. And I don't know why, but I didn't like her.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to try and communicate with
You
her.
wouldn't want to engage.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't, really, because I had a trachea in anyway, so I couldn't necessarily talk
Right.
yet. But she said, are you happy you're alive or mad that you're not dead?
Oh.
How do you feel about that?
Uh-huh.
And all I could do was grin and smile because I thought,
Wow.
well, half a smile, because I thought about my children. I can still play baseball with them. I can still go fishing and camping with them.
Uh-huh.
So, they are my reason for a lot of,
Why you're here.
for being here and for continuing to move forward through all of my addiction crap and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So there I am, and it got to where I was having an operation every month.
Wow. To reconstruct your face?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they took hip and shoulder and leg and ribs and anything they could find and put it on my face.
Wow.
And it just didn't completely heal, so I had to do it over again.
Wow.
And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact I was smoking.
Yeah.
So, don't smoke when you're doing that kind of
Right. Your body doesn't heal.
stuff. Exactly. And I didn't realize that, your entire body is affected by one cigarette.
Uh-huh.
All of your blood supply and everything else. What you do right now, they won't operate on you, period,
Right.
unless you can prove to them that you're not smoking. And they'll give you a blood test
Yeah.
before they operate.
To make sure.
Right. And if you have any nicotine or whatever they test for in your system, you're out.
You're done. Yeah.
So it's really detrimental. So, yeah.
So how long did it take you? How long were you in the hospital with like all of your did you remain in the hospital during
No.
all this surgery? Okay.
No,
So you'd go have a surgery, go home, try to recover.
Right. I had to, move in with my mother. I had no, I couldn't take care of myself.
Right.
I was in a hospital bed. I was having, a feeding tube in, so all of my
Okay.
medications, all of my food went directly into my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, liquid stuff anyway.
Right.
But I had all of that going on, and, how does a guy work and support himself? He's having an operation every month.
Right.
So that's where I ended up, and all total, and this sounds like a made-up number, but it's not. We talked about it with the doctors, and we added it all up,
Uh-huh.
and it's like 70 operations total.
Oh my.
in that, in that time.
Wow.
Since then to now. And,
Uh-huh.
so, yeah.
That's even a lot to go through after the whole incident.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So you have the incident and then you go through all this. And how long did that take? How long did you go through all of that? The surgeries
it
and
stopped,
stuff.
it really slowed down. No, it stopped. And I didn't have one for another couple of years after this. But
Mm-hmm.
it was right around probably the summer of 2000,
Okay.
I think.
So you were constantly under the knife, honestly.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then maybe it might have been further than that. I'm not real sure of the dates. But so through all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like I said, I was drinking before. And as soon as I got to where I got my feeding tube out, I could start drinking again, any liquids, right? So I went right back to drinking beer, and I end up with 2 DUIs in 2.5 months. And
Wow.
one of them, the cop pulled me over and was able, there was a lot wrong with this guy. He's probably on medication. He's a super nice guy.
Uh-huh.
And took me back to the cop shop and got me a ride
Oh,
back.
wow.
So,
That's
yeah,
incredible.
so super nice guy.
So even after all that, you still weren't okay, right?
Oh, no. And not only not okay with, well, I don't know, maybe I was a little bit more okay than I was before because I didn't worry so much about what I had now, but
Okay.
I was focusing on what I will have tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I had goals. I still had my truck, but I wanted a good job back again. I wanted all that money back again. I wanted a wife again. I wanted all of the things. And that was a focus where I wasn't necessarily feeling how I was feeling inside or recognize how I was feeling inside.
Yeah.
And I went right back to drinking, and I was a binge drinker, so it wasn't like I was drinking every day, but I would drink and get drunk and get passed out and
Yeah.
do that.
You were drinking
throughout
to
a weekend. I was drinking to get drunk. I wasn't drinking because of the taste.
just right.
Yeah.
The occasional, oh, I like how this drink tastes. You were drinking to get messed up.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up in rehab, and so that's a whole other story with my recovery and relapsing a million times and fighting to get back to it, and through all of that, I believe that there was a God involved with me,
Yeah.
and I was doing one fellowship and then switched over to another fellowship recently, but I still have a lot of really close friends that were there in the very beginning, and my one friend, Wendy, I was in a funk, and she tells me, well, what are you doing? Just sitting here on the couch, And she said, well, get up off the couch, hang up, get off the couch, go in the bathroom, look in the mirror, and tell yourself you're worth it.
Yes.
I'm worth not getting loaded anymore. I'm worth changing my life around. And that got me out of the funk and got me more serious about recovery.
Right.
Again. And so, thankfully.
Yes. So what got you to that point that you did what you did?
I shot myself?
Yeah.
So I felt like I wasn't taking care of myself. I think that was probably the biggest thing.
So no self-care.
At all. And with self-care, what is that, right? Back then I'd never even heard of that, right?
Right. Yeah, back exactly.
And it was just self-care for me now is even this.
Yes.
Interacting with people.
Thank you for saying that. That's
Interacting
amazing.
with people and healthy people.
Yes.
Because if I hang out with someone that has negative energy, then I'll end up with negative energy. And
So do you protect your energy then?
not very well.
No. No.
No, but I do feel I try. I know I can tell the difference when I'm hanging out with someone good
Yeah,
and
okay,
I'm hanging
yes.
out with someone bad.
Yeah, so
I
you
know-
you
I
know.
recognize it.
Yeah, oh, good, good,
And
yeah.
I still at times choose to hang out with the folks that are taking my energy.
Yes. Okay. That's kind of where I was going with that. You're choosing more positive
Yes,
people in your
yes.
life and not being around those types of energies that,
Right.
that might affect you
Well,
negatively,
it's what
right?
your mom always said. You hang out with with those folks, you'll end up like those folks.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and I love that. That was
Yeah.
that was my thought. But it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
If I hang out with good, positive people,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be good and positive. It's like Taco's always talking about matching energy.
Yep.
And so if I'm having good energy, then and you're having good energy, we'll keep that going. And
Yes.
but as soon as I start hanging out with somebody else,
Uh-huh.
then that can take away from my energy.
Yeah, they suck you dry.
Yeah, like an energy sucker,
Yeah.
or a
Yep.
light sucker, or however you want to look at it.
Yep, 100%. Yeah.
So
So so the whole thing was you just felt like that. Did you feel like you were kind of just going through the motions in your life, doing what you had to do or felt like you had to do and not really paying attention what you needed?
at all. I was paying
Okay.
attention to what my children needed. I was paying attention to, I got to work, and I need to. I have to pay my bills.
Yeah, and I think
I mean,
that's the
I'm
problem
not good at
today.
that either, anyway. But
Yeah.
I focus on everything else rather than
What's good for
what
you.
is good for me, and also what is really important. You know,
Yeah, yes.
Um,
Most important, what's important, right?
right? I mean, first things first, take care of me and my kids, and have that relationship with God. And those three things have got to happen. If I'm not doing that, then I'm in a funk and I'm miserable. But then, and also, a good way for me to self-care is pay my damn bills.
That's true.
You know,
right?
when I stay on top of my money, and I stay on top, and I'm not good at that at all. But when I do, I feel a lot better.
You feel good.
When I
Yeah.
have, $200, $300, $400 at the end of the month, rather than running around
Being in the negative.
rather than running around looking for a loan,
Right.
at 800% interest,
Uh-huh.
to get me out of that, then I feel really good.
Yes.
So self-care can be a lot of different things.
It can it can be so different for different depending on the person, right? What do you need?
And like I said, this is self-care.
Yes, I agree
You know,
with you.
not only talking about what you've been through and the being genuine about your feelings, real about
Yeah.
your feelings, but just hanging out with people and talking about stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you see, there's a couple of billboards I have seen driving in here that it has two people just talking and walking or whatever it was, and it said, "This is suicide prevention."
Yeah.
And so it shows that had I been willing to get honest with myself, what was going on,
Uh-huh.
then I might have been willing to talk with somebody and say, hey, my ass is falling off. Can you help?
Yeah.
But again, I didn't realize my ass was falling off.
Right. Yeah.
I just knew that I wasn't happy. Things were going how I wanted them. And but now I can look back at that and say, well, I was isolating and I was doing all those types of things that I know aren't good for me, and I've done those since then.
Yeah.
I still get into that funk, and I'll end up doing the same types of things. And it isn't until I hit hard or something really bad happens that I'll listen to someone or I'll listen to a friend.
Yeah.
A person like Taco, or a person like my friend Jeremy, or John, or Tammy, folks like that that I trust,
Right.
that can call me on my shit.
Yep.
Where you been? Haven't heard from you for a couple of days, or stuff like that. And those types of things, if we can do for each other,
Yes.
that I believe can change the planet.
I like this guy.
But
It's so true. It is.
I mean, when you are walking down the road, or I remember my friend and I we pulled into, I think it was a drive at Arby's or something like that. And this woman had this huge, radiant smile,
Yeah.
right? It's one of those smiles that, oh, man.
Yeah.
And it took you back almost, you
Yeah,
know.
you can't help but notice it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And, you know, it was either when I got my order or after I placed it, when I said, you know, you have a great smile.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, she just lit up.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, things like that, simple things like that.
Yep.
You know, oh, I love those glasses on you, or nice shoes, or whatever it is.
Being complimenting and complimentive of people and being kind,
Yes,
yeah,
huge.
can make all the difference.
Just say hello all the time.
Yeah, and we've said that a million times doing the podcast. Just be kind to other people because you don't know,
Right.
you know, what they're going through.
Well, that's something else I have realized just recently. Like I said, I'm a really slow learner. I didn't say that, but I am. I've been really focused on my misery like I have done in the past, and judging myself by what other people act like or what I see them doing, what I perceive them as being.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a nice car, truck, house, whatever it is, they must be better off than me because they have all that.
Uh-huh.
Right? But then when you take all of that stuff away and you think about the person and the soul, every one of us has got something going on that they're dealing with some issue, whatever that issue is, that they don't feel good about. You know, that they're trying to work to correct.
Yes.
And when I think about that, it's a relief to know that I'm not the only one.
No.
It was like when I went to rehab and I realized that I was an alcoholic. Because I thought, it was a relief because I had thought I had lost my mind. I felt like I was the only one that felt this way.
Uh-huh.
I was the only one that ended up in trouble like I did.
Uh-huh.
I honestly went to rehab thinking that they could show me how to drink more responsibly.
Oh.
I had no idea.
So you didn't have really an intention of quitting drinking.
No,
going
I
into it.
I thought
you
that
wanted
they
to be
could
in
help
control.
me get control over my drinking.
Yep.
So that says a lot about who I am. But anyway, so yeah. And
So moving forward today, how do you feel today?
today I feel good.
Okay.
And, you know, I hit a serious rock bottom a couple of months ago.
So
because
you've done this, you're still struggling
I still struggle with
at
it.
times.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And,
Yep.
You know, that's life. I'm always going to have things that are going to bother me. I'm not always going to be able to get along with my children.
Right. We're not perfect.
I mean, you know, my daughter and I have a great relationship now, but we didn't before because they didn't want anything to do with me because I was getting loaded and I was choosing that lifestyle and dope over them, essentially.
Yeah.
You know?
Not making good decisions.
Right. And that was, you know, they decided that right around 2013, 14.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't seen or talked to my son since March of 2014.
Still today.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I got grandkids I haven't met, you know.
Oh,
and,
no.
Man,
Yeah.
it's a challenge. It really does hurt.
Yeah.
But I can understand his thought process to a degree that more, I can understand it more when I was actually getting loaded all the time.
Uh-huh.
But now that I've got, you know, a couple of 3 years running under my belt,
Good.
I wonder, anyway, that's what, you know, what else can I do to change that? So that's, you know, something I have to deal with.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have wanted me around my kids and when I was getting loaded all the time.
Right.
You know, I would have absolutely protected them from me.
Yeah.
So I understand that thought process.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I can't blame him. You
Yeah.
know, and I think that because it's been so long, he just thought, well, you know what, it's going really well without him. Let's just keep, you know.
He's just kind of in that mode.
Yeah,
now and-
let's just leave it alone and maybe one day or maybe not one day.
Yeah.
You know, who knows?
So when you're struggling, what do you do to work to get yourself out of that space?
I make myself hang out with people. So I have a dog, a German Shepherd, and
Yep.
I work with her a lot, training her, right, new things and stuff like that. So when I'm in my funk, she's in a funk, And I can tell because dogs, really feed off of our emotions.
Oh, for sure.
And so I can tell when she's in a funk. It helps me realize how long I've been in a funk, or damn, you're in a funk, Dad, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot more time working with her, and
Okay.
that, just by getting outside, I interact with people, and then I might want to go fishing, or I might want to go to an AA meeting or NA meeting and interact with those people, or call talk, or one of my good friends.
Yep.
And even if I can't go see them, because they have a life too,
Right.
But I can talk with them. And when I make that effort, things really improve. When I go to work and when I get out and I do things, again, self-care, do things the right way, then I feel better about me. And a lot of times I'll end up in that file of crap and not be doing those things. And when I start doing them, I immediately feel better.
That's good. And it's so good that you recognize that now, and that you do have people in your corner, right?
Right.
That support you and the positive energy that you need to get out of that. So that's great, because you said in the beginning you would isolate.
Right.
And now what are you doing? You're reaching out.
I'm doing my best to reach out. Sometimes I'll still stay in my hole for a minute.
Right.
But I don't let myself stay there.
Right. Sometimes we all need a moment, right?
Sure.
But in the end,
Well, it's like anything else. If I go to excess, then things are going to get fouled up.
Yep.
Whether I'm excessively playing with going out and seeing people, I'm not taking care of myself,
Right.
or my bills, or whatever else I've got going on. So I have to manage that to realize that all of it can be good and all of it can be bad if I
That's true.
do that to excess.
Yeah. That makes so much sense, huh? Wow. That's so cool. Well, I'm happy you're sitting here with us,
Me
for
too.
sure.
So am I. So am I.
That's quite a story. Do you have anything that you want to tell everybody out there, that if they get in that space of where they get those thoughts in their head, what's your advice to them? Do you have some advice? I know that's a tough question.
Would I have listened to anyone had they jumped in? Probably not.
Okay.
And I mean before.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
before that night.
Right. Right.
I mean, I felt fine before that night. Right? And I told my mom that. Yeah, we're fine. We're good. I'll talk to you tomorrow. But I think that the important thing is that we learn to recognize what we're doing to ourselves. And I believe that we all know when we're isolating. I believe that we all know when we're kind of in a funk. And so what do I have to do to get out of that? And that goes back to I'm hanging out with people that are positive. I'm taking care of my bills. I'm taking care of my obligations that mean something to me. I'm reaching out to my children. I'm reaching out to friends that mean something to me. I'm going to work.
Do you ever feel like, let's say you get in one of your funks and you're like, okay, I need to talk to some people or my friends or whatever. Do you ever hesitate?
Oh, all day long.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd much rather fix you than talk about me.
Right.
I can fix you all day long.
Right.
Right.
We always have great advice for other people, right?
You would be amazing if you ran how I wanted you to do it.
Right. Right.
But
what gets you through that of, okay, I'm in this funk. I feel like I need to, start surrounding myself with my positive influences. What gets you to the point where, okay, are you just like, nope, I need to do that?
yes, there's a lot of that.
Okay.
And I might not, in fact, I rarely will, call and say, hey, my ass is falling off. What can you do to help me? Or let's talk about blah. But what I will do is I'll start hanging out with those people. I'll start to reach out more. And a lot of folks, they know, my immediate group knows.
Your good friends, your
that,
circle.
My friend called me the other day, and she said, I haven't heard from you in a couple of days. Are you all right? What's going on?
Yeah.
So that's something that we can do for one another is to check up on one
Yes, check
another.
on people you love, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And just, hey, you haven't seen you doing yourself, or
Yeah.
I haven't seen you, whatever. I haven't talked to you in a while. Are you okay? And then try and be honest as you can with them and say, hey, yeah.
I feel like shit today.
my ass is falling off. I've got so many things going on.
Yeah.
And when I do that, I feel better. And they feel better because they're helping me.
Right.
It's not like I'm the only one getting something good out of it. I feel good when I try and help someone else.
Right.
And they, I assume, feel the same way.
Of course. Yes.
So, that's huge, being able to reach out and talk through that. One thing I do want to talk about.
Yes.
So, I tried blowing my head off, right?
Yep.
And it was a shotgun. So a friend of mine hit me up once and said, well, how can you still be an advocate for guns when
you did that?
Shot yourself with a gun?
Uh-huh.
And, my whatever I'm trying to think of, I come back with, well, the gun didn't do it.
You did.
I did it.
Yeah.
I could have done the same thing in my truck, or with a knife or anything else. So the gun wasn't at fault.
Right.
I still shoot guns. I love guns and all that type of thing. But it's about, I guess what I'm trying to say with that whole thing is that try to be responsible with your guns to where you're, keeping them away from kids. You're locking them up.
Yep.
You're letting your friends know, hey, I've got this gun here. And I did this with my friend Tammy and my friend John. I said, I feel like crap, and I need you to come take this gun. And it was the same gun that I tried to blow my head off with. So,
yeah.
Not that I was thinking that or having those types of
But to
thoughts.
protect yourself.
But I knew that I was in a serious funk. And I need you guys to come take this.
Yes.
And one of them was a felon. So he can't be around guns, but he did that for me, knowing that would help me.
Right. So it's just a matter of we have such a huge mental health crisis, right? And just being safe with the guns, and keeping them locked up and safe, and not having them within reach. If people are having,
they talk about it on television or billboards or wherever it is. Have your friend hang on to your guns for a couple of days. It's not like they're going to keep them.
Right.
And that, I felt some relief when I gave it to them. But then I also felt like, now I'm going to get it back, right?
Yeah.
But that's just my own deal. And that's hard to do, to give someone something that you're so attached to.
Yeah.
But, that can also hurt me, and I had done it before.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I couldn't do it again.
Yeah.
Because I had no intention of doing it to begin with until that night when I woke up.
It was almost like this last minute kind of thing. You just got a thought, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this now.
Yeah. And that's really what it was. I hadn't thought about it before. I've never thought about it. Well, I haven't thought about it before, ever.
Okay.
And I woke up, and that's all I could hear.
Yeah.
So if I happened to be in a funk, and I didn't think that before, but I had a gun, then maybe I have my friends hang on to my gun for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. I think we do need to be more responsible with our guns, and expect there's, kids have issues, get access to them,
right?
On accident, and it turns out tragic. And we do definitely need to practice great gun safety for sure.
Yeah, it's common sense, and that's hard for me because common sense and I don't get along very well. But there's a lot of common sense in that. Well, lock your guns up. Yeah. And when I grew up, that wasn't an issue. We had a shotgun hanging in the back of the window, in the truck.
I grew up that way. My dad, we'd drive,
always
in the gun rack in the truck. Yep.
So something changed, and I'm not going to get into what changed and what didn't change, but something changed, and now it's more of an issue with children and people hurting other people with guns.
Yeah,
So
I would agree with that
it's just
for
something
sure. Yeah.
to look at and be careful with
So
your own guns.
yeah. So do you rely on, you say you talked about your God. Do you rely on your God to help protect you now and help you?
Absolutely. I don't want to say that's my most important relationship, but it really ought to be my most important relationship, because and when I'm in my right frame of mind and I'm living spiritually and praying sincerely, talking to God, my world is good. It's like if I'm working out and drinking and eating healthy, my life is good.
Yeah, you feel better.
But I don't do it. I drive by the gym every day, but I don't go.
Right, right.
So if I, pick up a Bible or whatever you need to do to find that spirituality, I listen to a lot of Christian music.
Okay.
And that helps me.
Okay.
That's not the only thing I listen to, but I have before only listened to it for, Caleb has a challenge, a 30-day challenge. If you listen to 30 days of only Christian music, will it change your life? Does it change your life? Absolutely.
Wow.
But right back to cave area.
Yeah. The rock and roll.
Yeah.
We all got to have rock and roll in our life, right?
Yeah. So that's something that when I do that, things are better.
Yeah.
When I pray, things are better. When I eat right, things are better. And without God, I don't make it. I mean, look at where I'm at. I've thought about this a million times, as you might imagine. How did the gun shoot over here if I'm holding it here and I push that way?
That's kind of what I was wondering.
How does that happen?
And a couple times.
Oh, yeah, twice.
Right?
Well, hey, you're going to go.
Yeah.
And, how could my grandpa say, get the hell up and down 911?
Yeah.
How could he cross over and say something?
Yeah. He's communicating with you.
God did that.
Yeah.
God helped me with living. And I thank God every day. Thanks, for keeping me alive. Thank you, Lord, for getting me out of that jam, or for loving me and for whatever it is that I need to thank Him for. And when I have that relationship, things are really good.
So I would say that's probably part of your self-care too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And that is even, I've heard people say that, I talk to God like I talk to my friend. I'm not very good at that. But I do now talk to Him in my own words.
Yep.
I swear sometimes,
We all do.
when I'm talking to God,
I bet you He's not judging.
Yeah, right. I mean, God, my ass is falling off, or I'm really fucked up, or whatever it is, and He might not appreciate those words, but He's okay with it. He's not judging me.
Right.
Is how I feel.
Of course.
Growing up, I thought that God was a vengeful, judging God, and that had nothing to do with any of my family teaching me that, because that's not what they taught me, but that's what I heard.
Right.
But now I've realized, with help of the 12-step process, the 12-step groups, that God's okay with me being me.
Yes.
And that is huge for me. God loves me in spite of me.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a very important message.
It really is. And I think that the more of us felt that way, the more of us were accepting of others in their own beliefs. I don't care what you do to get there.
Right.
I don't care if God is your God, or Buddha is your God,
right,
or that flower is your God, whatever it is, what that gets you. I just need to let that get you and not worry about what you're doing.
Yes, I agree. And that's the whole purpose why we do the podcast, because everybody spirits in different ways, and whatever that is to whoever, if that's what works and that's where people get comfort and support from, then
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
I was talking to a guy years ago that was a member of the prominent religion around here, and quite high, Bishop Rick or whatever he was at. And I said, I get my God on the golf course. Or I get my God fishing
Yeah.
on the river.
In nature, it sounds like.
Exactly. When I'm out there, if I can find God on the golf course, I can find God anywhere.
Right.
I say I golf, but I really don't. But when I'm out there, I have birds, I have trees, I have a wide open space that helps me get to God.
It's a grounding space. Being out.
Good, yeah.
It's a grounding space for me, for probably a lot of people to be out in.
Out in God's country is what I call it.
Exactly.
When
yes.
I'm out fishing, obviously the river all day long. That's God's country to me.
Yep.
Mountains or camping, and if I take my head out of the equation and I look around and be a part of what's there, then
it's beautiful, right?
And that's that's the common denominator in all of my crap is me.
Yeah.
So if I take me out of the picture,
Yep.
then me is a whole lot better. If that makes any sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense to me.
So you're as messed up as I am.
Yeah, right? We're all a little crazy.
Right?
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I must say, brave of you to share that story, because it's pretty scary.
Well, it is. It was a rough time in my life, but and that's something else I want to talk about too. Dealing with the face that I have.
Oh,
right?
yes.
I don't know if you can tell or not, but my face is a little bit different than the average
It's a
guy,
little
right?
bit different, yeah.
And I'm not going to hide. I refuse to hide.
Good for you.
Because there's life out there. If I hide, I don't have life.
Then you're just isolating again.
Right.
Yeah.
And that isn't even a thought process. I'm not going to not have my life because I look like this.
Yes.
Or because I sound like this. Now, don't get me wrong. This face has kicked my butt more times than I can count.
Yeah.
The first time I looked in the mirror, oh my hell.
Were you like, what?
It was horrible.
Yeah. I bet. Or when you first woke up and
that
seeing
was
yourself.
When I first saw myself with half my face gone.
Yeah.
Or all the bandages or whatever,
yeah.
That was tough. I think I might have screamed and bawled.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I just remember looking, and I remember it being really hard.
Of course.
And I still have a hard time looking at my face. I can look in the mirror, but I'm looking at an eyebrow,
Right.
I got boogers going on.
Right.
Or I'm shaving. But when I look at me and I say, you are worth it, like my friend Wendy said, then things are good.
Yes.
And when I don't let my face stop me.
That's awesome.
And I was walking through a store and I always get stared at.
Of course. Because you look different.
I look a little different, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, the staring's okay. And the children, fine. That's going to happen. I usually wave and I smile and everything else.
Yeah.
But it's the adults that, kind of get me, right?
Yeah.
And I'll look right back at them.
Good for you.
Because...
Do you smile too?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it depends on my mood, right? So
right.
Sometimes I have to don't talk to me, right?
Yeah.
But I'll always make eye contact with them if I notice it. It's just something that I do, and it's helped me too realize other people with their own insecurities. I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too tall, I'm too skinny, whatever that is.
Yep.
Everyone has got something, and they feel like that something is all anyone sees.
That's right.
It's
so true.
And it's especially tough for women. And this has helped me understand and relate more to women with what they have to deal with when they have guys ogling them all the time.
Right.
Not that I have guys ogling me all the time or not. Well, I don't know. But I understand a little bit more about that. Maybe just a tiny bit more because folks are staring at me.
Yep.
So that's something to do.
So really, you've dealt with that day, you're going to deal with it for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
In probably more ways than one, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's only been one operation that they considered, plastic surgery, and that was to make this smaller.
On the
All
side.
the rest were life-saving.
Yeah.
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 But this is part of my arm, and this is part of my head.
You
and
got pieces and bits
everywhere.
and
Yeah, I've got leg and shoulder and rib and my face, all of that kind of stuff.
they did a pretty incredible job though.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I
Imagine
mean,
what it must have looked
could
like
you
before.
imagine? I
Yeah.
can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's amazing what medicine can do,
Oh,
right,
I
for
can't-
us.
Where would I be if they hadn't had those?
They couldn't fix you.
Yeah, if I hadn't had those doctors and nurses there that knew what they were doing, and science helped them learn all
Yep.
of that, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, it's about time for us to wrap it up. Do you have any last comments?
stick around with good people. Stick around with the people that love you, and you know that they love you.
Yes.
Get,
Great
get as close
advice.
to God as you can, and stick around with people that love you.
Yes.
Those, I think, are the two main things that, if I have God, there's a scripture in the Bible, if God is for me, who then could come against me? So if I've got that in my back pocket, then I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
If I've got my friends in my back pocket, then things are pretty good.
Yes.
So.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tad, for
You're
coming
welcome.
and joining us today.
Thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate it. And just a reminder again, everybody, please check out our YouTube channel at How to Use Spirit and our Instagram page out at How to Use Spirit. I always get tongue-tied at the end, huh? And the Facebook page, How to Use Spirit and Lori Jewett. And we will see you again soon. Thank you.
Very cool.
Awesome. Good job. I love it. What a story. Wow.